reason, I open up YouTube, and this is the very first video that pops up on my feed. This is an interview back in 1976 with 60 Minutes and the Shaw of Iran. I click on it, and I was absolutely floored by something he said about 3 minutes into the video that kind of correlates with what I've been saying when it comes to AI. But this video is not edited, supposedly anyway, because it comes directly from the 60 Minutes YouTube channel. I am going to go ahead and play the clip now, but like I said, listen carefully to what he says.
Only reflect their views, yes.
No? The New York Times, for instance, is owned by the Sulzberger family, who are Jewish. Are you suggesting that the New York Times is biased in its treatment of the question of Zionism, Israel's existence, the United States' relationship with the Arab world?
I will have to put all the articles of the New York Times written on this subject and draw the conclusion. You can put this to the computer and it will answer you.
What you're saying is that, yes, you do believe.
Well, let's wait for the answer of the computer.
Washington Post?
The same.
The networks?
Less.
I must say you are speaking with your characteristic candor.
Yes, if you like. You can put this to the computer and it will answer you.
What you're saying is that, yes, you do believe.
Well, let's wait for the answer of the computer.
You can put all this into the computer and the computer will answer you. Let's wait for the answer of the computer. Now, in today's day and age, if you were to say something like this to somebody, of course they would think you're talking about AI. Now, when it comes to the public anyway, the very first search engine to search anything was created back in 1990. The World Wide Web wasn't created until 1989, and that was created by CERN. Now, there were also AI chatbots back in the 1970s, such as Eliza and Perry, but they were supposedly, anyway, extremely primitive, and they were based on simple pattern matching rather than the sophisticated AIs of today that do machine learning and pull from all these algorithms and so forth. Back in the 1970s, what the public had access to anyway, you couldn't simply just ask a computer a question, like, for example, what the Shah was talking about, Israel taking over the world, and it giving you an answer based on all the articles that are out there. It didn't work that way. So then the question happens to be, what is he talking about? And when he said we should wait for the answer for the computer, that was really chilling to me because, again, that is something I have been theorizing about for quite some time, that the so-called powers that be, they turn to this very advanced form of AI that's much older than what the public is led to believe. Much, much older. But talking about AI chatbots back in the 1970s, I mentioned Perry and I mentioned Eliza, which in today's world would be seen as very primitive, given the fact that they can only do basic things, basic functions. But there was another AI chatbot in the mid-1970s called the Red Father. And apparently no known information exists of this Red Father chatbot besides the memories of some people. So I went ahead and did some more research into this Red Father, which has a very ominous name, and I came across this article right here which says, Forbes editor Amy Feldman had a new story about a chatbot, quote-unquote chatbot computer program she remembers from the 1970s dubbed Red Father. She was able to play with the program because her dad worked at Bell's lab, but explained that nobody can find any record of Red Father. This article quotes Amy Feldman's article on Forbes. It says, in the mid-1970s, when I didn't have school, my dad would sometimes take me to his office and I would play on Red Father, an early chatbot. In a room filled with hulking mainframe computers, I would sit at the keyboard and type to Red Father, the meaning of its name lost to history, I bet it is. But perhaps alluding to the Cold War and the machine would respond by text, compared to board games like Monopoly or Battleship, playing with Red Father felt like being accepted into a secret society, a special game that only those of us who made it into the inner sanctum of the labs. What? The goal in my mind was to keep the conversation going as long as possible before Red Father, annoyed, would type back, go talk to your mother. But apparently, come to find out, she wasn't the only one. This editor spoke with Peter Bosch, who also visited the Murray Hills headquarters of Bell's Labs in New Jersey as a teenager. Bosch remembers playing with the Red Father chatbot, but the corporate historian at AT&T, the company that holds the Bell's Labs papers, couldn't find anything about it. When it comes to this very advanced chatbot back in the 1970s anyway, that would even get annoyed, This AT&T corporate historian, who has been in that role since 1988, scoured the corporate archives and came up empty. And he was also quoted as saying, "I can only speculate, but it would not be unusual for the researchers at Bell's Labs to have such projects." Very intrigued by this Bell's Red Father chatbot, but I can't really find anything else on it. I did go to the main Forbes article, but surprise, surprise, it's locked behind a paywall. But I am sure this Red Father was not the only one, and there are way more advanced forms of AI even before this chatbot. These very advanced forms of AI, and I'm talking about far more advanced than this Red Father, the AIs that the so-called powers that be only have access to, probably allows them to look into the future, look into the past, manipulate time in the form of the Mandela effect. Something I have been thinking about too when it comes to the Mandela effect, you can find articles even before the Mandela effect was a thing on smart dust, breathing in smart dust. And what if these computers, these AIs, have access to the smart dust we breathe in, and they're implanting false memories into our heads? Now that could be one of the reasons behind, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why things like the Mandela effect exist. Because I am sure CERN has something to do with it too, among other things. But I mean, if you look into it, the term the Mandela effect, it started in 2009. You can find articles on smart dust in 2003, 2004, even before then, I'm sure. So then the question happens to be, if he has access to these powerful computers, this powerful form of AI, why didn't he stop his own downfall? Well, the other governments also have access to this powerful form of AI, and you also have to remember, all these world leaders we see on TV, all these conflicts, they're just playing a role. They're all on the world stage. They are all doing events to get us to a certain endpoint. The